when we talk about programming with a computer, when we specify operations and instructions we give the computer, just like if we were workers at some job, we have to actually be a little bit more narrow than that. We have to be that there is no ambiguity at all. It has to be clear. That's the big thing. So you can't just tell the computer, hey, make me some waffles. The computer may not necessarily understand how to do that. It may not even understand that you're talking to it. Remember, computers do not have agency. They do not have that ability. They just interpret and process instructions as you provide them to the machine. So now you might ask, Dan, why do you need this stuff to be all exact and clear like this and with no interpretation bias? Well, it's quite simple. Now, computers, they process bits and bytes. These are so-called machine code. So these are instructions that are written in a language that the computer's processor understands. It doesn't really understand it. It's fetched it and it performs the calculation. So normally, when we talk to each other about activities that we're going to do and solve, we need to think about it in terms of what exactly the computer needs to accomplish. Now, a computer, like I said, operates on bits and bytes. So how do we communicate with the computer? So that brings me to my friend over here. So this is my friend here. This is my friend called Blotzo. So let me just get, I think I have a marker in my pocket. Okay, it's in my hand. So Blotzo, are you there? Oh, there's Blotzo. Now, everybody say hello to Blotzo. So this is Blotzo the computer. Now remember, Blotzo is in fact a computer. It is not a human. So what I'm doing right now is I want to hypothetically imagine if Blotzo was an actual human being. So Blotzo right now is really happy. Now, if I was talking to Blotzo in the way I would talk to a human, if I asked Blotzo, hey Blotzo, add 2 plus 2 and return or output the result. Oh, it seems a little unsettling about that. Blotzo, what's 2 plus 2? Well, Blotzo, okay, Blotzo's telling me it's 4. So Blotzo says it's 4. See, that would be how I would communicate with somebody normally, but here's the reality, is Blotzo does not communicate like you or me. Blotzo operates on machine code. I want to just draw in an analogy. Now, Blotzo, where's your lovely face? Okay, there's Blotzo's face. See, Blotzo is a little shy. See, Blotzo's a little shy. Okay. Hey, Blotzo. Blotzo. Okay. Blotzo is paying attention now. The big thing I want to get at is that Blotzo is a computer, it's not a person. So hypothetically speaking, imagine if Blotzo was a human. Now, imagine if Blotzo spoke in a different language than I do. And say it's a really complicated language for me to understand. Now, there's a couple of things I could do to communicate 2 plus 2s, and I wanted to return the result of 2 plus 2. What can I do for Blotzo? Well, the first thing is Blotzo speaks in another language. Now, I could be very compassionate and really take the sweet time to really want to wow Blotzo. Hey, look, I'm just trying to wow you, okay? Okay. Well, I could try to wow Blotzo by learning Blotzo's language and communicating in Blotzo's language 2 plus 2, like add 2 and 2, and return 4, or output 4. And if I were to do that, in the sense of that, Blotzo would indeed be able to tell me, okay, it's 4. So what exactly, so that's one scenario, right? But there's a problem with that. There could be many different kinds of instructions that Blotzo could compute. And I may not necessarily know how to speak every single one of those things, which takes a very long time. Computers are very sophisticated devices that actually operate on very elementary principles, such as processing bits and bytes. But those are added up over several layers of something called abstraction. So we have lower level stuff, such as the bits and bytes, but those represent things like numbers, and those numbers may represent portions of things like instructions that are read to the processor. Like I said, it can get rather complicated to go through each one of those one at a time. Now, another way I can do things is instead of trying to say, hey, Blotzo, and try to explain it in Blotzo's language and ask Blotzo to do it, I could instead hire somebody to be a translator for me. So imagine I want to make it so that I can return the result of 2 plus 2. What I could do is imagine I had somebody that could translate in Blotzo's language, the so-called machine code. What I could do is I could tell the translator, hey, add 2 and 2 and output the result of that calculation. And the interpreter can translate that and communicate to Blotzo. Then Blotzo can, of course, sit there and be like, okay, whatever, man, and return 4. So do you see how that actually can be a little bit more reliable, because the translator knows how to speak Blotzo's language and how to communicate in Blotzo's language. However, I don't really know it well. And Blotzo's language, now imagine Blotzo's language could change per machine architecture. So for example, it could be a Windows machine, it could be a Mac, it could be a Linux. These all could be different types of things going on in between the operating system and the hardware. So that language could mean various different things. So when I talk about this problem, now Blotzo, I'm not trying to compliment you, okay? The point I'm getting at here is that Blotzo speaks a different language than you and me. Humans can oftentimes communicate instructions in mathematical terms like this, or logical operations. Blotzo operates on bits and bytes that are translated based on hardware and software specifications. So what we could do is we can make use of an interpreter, and that interpreter actually has an analog in computing. It's called a compiler. So here's the idea. The idea is very simple. Oh yeah, my marker's here. So we have tools actually to take on the role of the interpreter. So if I want to get Blotzo to compute 2 plus 2 and output the result, I can use a compiler to translate some language that humans can easily understand, that follows some set of rules, into this machine code for some machine. In this case, Blotzo. So what exactly is that language that I'm talking about that I can give to the so-called translator, or now a compiler? That is a programming language. So what happens is I write my tasks out in a programming language. In this case, we're going to be talking about Java. And then I use a compiler to translate my code into that machine code. And that machine code can be executed by Blotzo. So hopefully that's clear. Anyways, Blotzo, that was really nice seeing you. So I'll see you later, Blotzo.